Hello, everybody. This is Jeff Bird with Jeffrey Bird Coaching. And today I have a very special guest with me. This is Mike Poulin. He is the International Director of Global Priority Solutions, and he has been very, very involved around the world and with people for many years. I think we were just talking, Mike. I think it's 19 moves you and Jackie have had, right? So y'all been all
Yeah.
over the place. So you got a pretty good
Yes.
perspective and viewpoint to look at things from. So and I know you both just deeply care for people. That is what has informed your moves. And so I thought I'd just ask you a couple of questions about that today. But I'm wondering, as what we were just talking before we started recording is that, as we look around, even like when you go to the grocery store or something, you see people who just aren't thriving. And it's not just one or two people, it's most people. Most people are not even imagining they can have a thriving life. So I thought, on a global standpoint, from all the things you've experienced and you've seen, what is necessary? Because you've seen some people who are thriving really well and many who aren't. But what's the difference? What's needed in order to have a thriving life for people?
Well, first of all, it's great to be on with you. I follow you, talk to you a lot. You're a real inspiration to me, and it's a
Thank you,
joy
Mike.
to be on here with you.
Good
It's
to have.
it's a great question to start because I think when I look at it, I think from from a baby right on to an adult. I think as an individual, a couple, a family, a community, a city, a nation, and having had the blessing and opportunity to be able to, well, I speak three languages, and so you through French and through English and through Spanish, you also, when you learn a language, you learn a culture.
Mhm.
And having, I don't always, when I'm in cultures, like if I'm in South Korea or something, I'm out, man. I do not speak the language. I have no idea, and I'm clinging to that interpreter. But I do feel culture. I can see culture, and I think when we look at it globally, it's understanding what makes life work. And what makes life work is what I call universal laws. And universal laws are higher than they're higher than culture.
Mhm.
And the reason I say that is because they work in every culture. That has been my experience. When we think of things like honesty, that's a universal law. It doesn't matter what the language is. If a person or a nation or a local government, or it doesn't matter who, uh, is out of sync, is out of alignment, I would say, with the value of honesty, just one value, honesty. Well, you're going to find that it's going to be problematic. It's just going to be problematic for that person or for that city or for that nation. And so when you look at it that way, it's really not that complicated. I know that there's people out there that want to make it more complicated because more complicated it is, the more you need me.
Right.
But if it's simple, then we can all partake. And I think some people have maybe intuitively have connected into that to understand, because it's not just one value. I think the more values are honored, and when I say honored, it's not by language but by action. Then the more successful the person will be, and or the city, the nation. And so when you look at things like honesty, hard work, generosity, listening, boy, do we need listening in North America at this point. People can't listen. They can't listen to one another, but simple values. And so that's why we years ago we coined the term of value based leadership. And we always think of leadership as, I look at leadership, just I see leaders. You can recognize a leader, but the truth is we all better be leaders, because I have to lead myself. And I think every individual, we all have to lead ourselves. We have to make that basic first step decision that says, I'm going to be honest, or that I will work hard. These are personal decisions, and then you end up leading yourself. Because when I'm aligned with these values, I'm headed for a life of benefits. It just works that way. When I'm out of line with them, then I'm looking at consequences. And I think right now, we were just mentioning, you can see kind of where people are aligned if you just listen to them or observe what they're buying in their shopping cart.
Right.
If you look at that, you go, wow, I don't think that's really value there. You're not really aligned with value. And that's going to have consequences, either physically, mentally, emotionally. And so now we are at a time globally where there is a battle for power, and people, freedom comes when we're all aligned. Then we're all free, and then we're surrounded by benefits. But when we get out of alignment, then that's when you have people, authoritarianism, and all of that starts to come in. The dividers, all of what we're seeing right now. So we're in quite unusual time. I think at the height of the volume that we're hearing right now.
Yeah, it sure feels that way. And listening to you, what it made me think of is the one man who said, if you jump off the Empire State Building, you don't break the law of gravity. You might break your neck, though. If you're not in alignment with the values, the universal principles and laws, the higher laws that we're all subject to, just like we are physically, we also are morally, or on the spirit level. These laws are there, and they're there for our good. Gravity's there for our good. The sense of pain tells us not to touch the hot stove.
Exactly. Okay, it's benefit consequences, and I think we're not hearing that enough in the dialogue, because I think if my motive is personal gain, that's one thing. If my motive is that we all win, then that might carry a different sound.
Yeah, and I worked many years ago, I guess about 30 years ago now, with a man who had been a former gang member, and he wrote a book called Prisoner of the American Dream. And he grew up in the slums, but he just thought it was normal. He thought that's what everybody did. Everybody fought off the rats to build a fire in the basement, in the boiler that morning. But then he got older and he realized, hey, that's not what's going on in a lot of culture and a lot of the community. It's this American dream thing. So then he wanted what everybody else had, and it led him to exactly what you're talking about, to fighting for the gain, for the prosperity. And he ended up becoming a gang leader. Now, later, he had a miraculous deliverance, you might want to call it, from that, but where he started building value into himself. But he was just trying to grab what he thought everybody was supposed to have, or what he needed to have, and was not privileged to have, but he was doing it at the expense of the values that would have made for a great life. And he, to this day, as far as I know, still carries bullets lodged in his body from the gangs that he was involved with.
Consequences. He had a great realignment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
It's what happened. I said, we have 5 children, and they're all successful today. They're doing great. They're just my joy. But I would tell them as they were growing up, I'd say, well, there are 2 schools. There's the school of wisdom and the school of hard knocks.
Right.
Now, my background, I had a doctorate in the school of hard knocks before I began to realign.
Right.
But hard learner. But I said, I really recommend the school of wisdom, where wisdom says, find out what the values are, what these universal laws are. Find out, because when you get that, when you begin to realize, then you find out how life really works, and how you can live in peace and prosperity, even in the middle of madness sometimes.
Yeah. That's amazing. When we talked about being in the grocery store, and I was in line at Walmart today picking up a few things, and there was quite a line as always. And the man in front of me turned around and was looking at me. It's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he said, "I'm doing great." He said, "Just to let you know," he said, "when I get up to the cashier, I'm going to ask her for some cigarettes, so she's going to be leaving her stand." And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, I said, "Well, that's just normal. That's what they always do, but it's not their fault. So I'm okay." And
Right,
I
right,
thought after
right.
the fact, what I should have told him was, "Hey, I'm working on patience, and I've been working on it for 54 years, and I feel like I'm still, like you say, in my terrible twos. But this is a great opportunity to get better. Maybe I should go to Walmart 30
Yeah.
days straight in a row and see and
That's
just
right.
to
Really
develop my
build up that
patience."
muscle. That's right. Get your masters
Right,
in
exactly.
patience.
Yeah, I should have something. I can put it on the
Yeah.
wall behind me. But
What we've been in the last couple of years, especially through the madness of COVID and everything that's happened that we've all been through, I have found I've been really challenged just in the thing of judging, just my judgments. That's because it's a good idea not to walk in judgment. Just be kind to people and give room. And boy, that was really tested, because it's so easy today to just have judgments on people. So like you say, there's plenty of opportunities to realign. So you have to be thankful. It's a great time to be alive.
right. Sometimes I feel like I wish it were a football game. I could just time out, time out.
And
Let's just put all that. Yeah, yeah. It's like too many opportunities. Let's just give it a minute. I'm just going to go away and sit in the woods, and then I'll come back and start it again.
let me go read the playbook here. I'm lost. All
Right.
my X's and O's are lost. Yeah,
Exactly.
you're
Exactly.
scrambling me. Yeah.
Yeah. So wow, well, thank you.
Uh,
So what I was thinking about doing was starting out
mhm,
on kind of a global perspective, which you spoke
mhm,
to so well, and then kind of bringing it down to a personal perspective. But you
mhm.
kind of covered that. So on the personal level, so I know
Mhm,
that it sounds easy.
mhm,
So
mhm.
what, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge to growing in those areas? I mean, it seemed like I know John Maxwell, whom we both know, says everything
Mhm,
uphill or everything worthwhile is uphill. Because
mhm,
gravity is always trying to pull you down. But what does
mhm.
that look like in real life to get better at those things? How do you improve on those, even if you're aware of them?
Yeah, I think the other side of that statement that John makes is and you can't go uphill with downhill habits.
Oh, right.
And so I think yeah, that's personally for me, that becomes the challenge. Is first of all, it's like to not lose your love of learning, and to be focused, starting with yourself. I have a saying that says transformation begins with me and then continues through me. And so it's not so much what I want other people to do. It's the oldest universal law in the world. Treat other people as you would want them to treat you. Not always easy. Not always easy. But like anything else, you can get that muscle stronger. So you have to have a personal a drive to first of all to learn and be a better you. I think that's really important because that helps to start to get you at least focus. It gets me focused on the values. It gets me focused on what's going to make this work better. My email, everything about me is better as possible. And I really believe that. I believe that. And so, on a scale of 1 to 10, hey, we get up some days and it feels like a one. And it's like, hey, it's the same as yesterday. I slept in the same bed, so everything's the same. But I get up the one, I feel like a one. Or I don't know, maybe it's what's coming. What I'm thinking. But hey, if that's where I feel, if that's the get this to a 2 or a 3, you know. And it's the same thing as when I think of myself. I'm married. Of course, we're coming up on 49 years. All right.
Sorry
Oh,
about that. We got
we
dropped.
had a
We're back now.
okay. All right. So then I think, okay, so what can I do what can I do to be better? First of all, at who I am. And so for me, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a team member, I'm a member of society. You know, what can I do to make those things better, make me better, and learn and grow? I think that's really that would be the first thing. Be a learner, and learn to be better at who you are. And that has served me so well because you know, I had a rough start in life, you know, and education was replaced by reform school and prison. You know, I don't have very much education, and yet, you know, but when I think about it, two of the people that changed the world are Steve Jobs and who's our other man in with computers. There's Steve Jobs and I
Wozniak.
can't think of
Oh, no,
well,
Bill Gates. Bill Gates.
Bill Gates,
Yeah.
and both of those people walked away from university.
Right.
Not knocking university, just saying there's ways to be successful, and you have to really focus on who you are, and
Right.
then make who you are better. And I can't think of a better way to do that than to find out what the values that will benefit you, and getting alignment, learn, challenge yourself, be better at it, better, you know, today than I was yesterday. One of the lines that goes through me now a lot in the last 6 months is, I can do more than I think I can do. I can do more than I think I can do. And I challenge myself with that. Come on, be better, be better. Yeah.
Yeah. And you do a lot. And speaking of that learning, I would say you've had incredible learning, just maybe not traditional formal education, you know. But you know, you remind me, I was talking to a group of people a few years ago. This was before the pandemic. And the first time I was with them, I said, how many people would like to see change in the world? Raise your hand. And every hand in the room, it was a full room, and every hand in the room went up. And I said, okay, put your hands down and get a real clear picture in your mind about what change you would most like to see. I said, you got it? Everybody said, yeah, we're good. I said, okay, by a show of hands again, how many people were thinking about yourself? And no hands were raised. So everybody wanted to see everybody else change, but nobody wanted to change themselves. So when it goes to that, it makes me think of a Turkish friend of mine. And he told me, he said, hey, I asked him, you know, what's the big deal with pepperoni on a pizza? And he said, honestly, he said, there's just so much stuff that we know is problematic that we just pick a little thing that we feel like we can do something about, and it makes us feel better. And I thought, wow, that's a really honest answer. And but when it comes to that, sometimes once we become aware that change is needed and finally admit it to ourselves, it can seem overwhelming because it seems like so much change is needed. So how do you focus that down to a starting point? Like what do you work on first? Is it being patient with my wife? Is it listening to people? How do you, there's all these things that could be overwhelming because there's so many, but how do you pick a starting point of something to work on?
The game of life, right? It never tells you where the challenge is going to come from. Will it be from your wife? Will it be from a client? Will it be from, where is it going to come today? And so my philosophy has been a small step. I haven't thought so much about how many directions I need to go in, but I've thought about just take a small step. Just take a small step. And so, you know, when I see, you know, with my wife that, you know, if I'm short, if I'm missing it here, I'm not being kind, then we know, you know, when you're not in alignment, you know it. And so, you know, one of the things that's very helpful is to be brutally honest with yourself, with myself. I just be brutally honest. You know, it doesn't matter. People can see it anyways, you know, so until you're brutally honest, nothing's going to happen, right? Everybody can see it, but you're not going to do anything. But when you're brutally honest, then you can begin to say, okay, a small step to make this better. You know, whoa, I just went from an 8, you know, down to a 1 here. Okay, small step, make it a 2. at least you're going on this. You're not doing this. You're doing
Right.
this. And so I think that's one of the things that's helped me a ton, because new beginnings are don't have to be like everything, but a new beginning can be this one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a small step. When I know I'm out of line, I'm going to take a quick small step and get back in alignment. Get back in alignment. Because that's where, I mean, if you don't take that step and then you just leave it, and then it just seems to really, then it does this, and then pretty soon, whoa, this is a big deal. I have a friend who's got a jet, and I've ridden with him, and, sit in the other seat, and, everything is about the GPS. Everything is about get back in alignment, because an hour and a half from now, you won't have an airport to land in.
Huh.
And you're going to crash. And I think it's the same way that I look at if I keep taking my small steps and get back in alignment, which is basically what a pilot does. A pilot is continually speaking, and he's always checking in, and he's keeping himself in alignment. That's all he's doing. Once he takes off, that's all he's doing for the ride. And then he lands the plane, and he's safe. And so I look at it that way. Small steps create great change.
Wow.
Because they begin to give you momentum. So the small steps, you just keep taking small steps, you begin to gain momentum, and then pretty soon you got great change going on.
Wow. I love that. So the last question I wanted to ask you. So yes, we all thankfully can improve ourselves. And when you mentioned GPS about the plane, I got it confused with the other GPS we're a part of, the Global Priority Solutions, there for a second, but because that's all about the values and alignment. That's actually how we met and became
yes
was through Global Priority Solutions. But that's the value-based leadership that you were talking about, the training for that. But the thing, so apart from the personal training, or this is a part of the personal training, but what, as you look around the world and as you travel around the world and speak to people around the world, what do you most see that we need in terms of our vision of other people? We need to have that vision of ourselves and be growing, but what do we, it seems like, boy, things are just rough out there, when it comes to how people see you. And what is it that we really, it just seems like everybody needs to take a chill pill, and but what is it that you see the most that we need in that?
Well, the things that come to mind with that question is less judgment, more listening to understand. I don't know why. For example, if somebody takes a stand and I don't understand the stand, to me, I can see, whoa, if we keep going down that direction, this is not going to be good. I mean, my first trip to a communist country was Cuba back in 1977.
Wow.
There were more pictures of Brezhnev there than there were of Fidel at that time. Young Cuban men were in Angola fighting a war, because when Russia wouldn't send their young men there, but they would send Cuban young men. There's things that go on, whether it's, and nobody's pure, by the way, nobody's got it all down. But I think less judgment, a more attempt to try and understand, and try to, it's so easy to judge, but no one does well under judgment. No one responds well when they feel judged. And so judgment, understanding, and for the first part, my 5 children, because of my own background, didn't have a father really, and didn't understand. If I didn't see it, I didn't know how to father either. I didn't have a model. So, I didn't have a model of a husband. And so when I was in love, when I got married, I was in love, but I didn't know what a husband was. And when we started having children, we wanted children, but I didn't know what a father was. So I had to look at people that I felt were successful. If I saw a couple and the guy's wife was smiling and laughing, I thought, hey, this guy's doing something right. So if I saw, a couple with a couple of kids, and the kids were around them, and I thought, oh man, what are they doing? What are they doing? Because we need models in life. We need to see. People are listening to all kinds of stuff today, but they're looking to see someone model what it is they're talking about, rather than shooting across the way and going, they're bad, no, they're bad. Well, model it. And so I think less judgment, more understanding, and modeling love. My children, probably for the first 10 years, I was parenting out of fear.
Mhm.
Because when they did something, oh, well, you don't want to be doing that because you're, and I would shoot out to the future, and that's, oh, you don't want to become like that. But I was responding to them out of fear. And then one day I realized, it was so crazy because I told my wife on this, these kids they're so ungrateful. She said to me, well, what are you comparing to? What are you basing that judgment on?
Mhm.
And she said, I think you're basing it on the fact of that you had nothing and they have a lot. And you're feeling like they're not grateful, but they don't know having nothing.
Uh,
This is all they know. And so I began to realize, whoa. So I began to realign with love
wow.
and love them. And then that made all the difference. And so, as corny as it sounds, maybe the Beatles were right. All we need is love. We need a lot more love in the world, and a lot more, less judgment, more understanding, and as we go around, hopefully we do make an impression. There's no question. We make the impression. The question is, what's that impression going to be?
Mhm.
And the values help to make good, lasting impressions. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And I love that, really what it comes down to is living the values. Isn't about just checking off a checklist, saying, okay, well, I did that value today. It's really about loving people,
Mhm.
understanding them,
Mhm.
feeling where they are, having compassion, having empathy, and just loving
Mhm.
them. And then that's what's going to
Mhm.
make the world a better place. Drop the
Mhm.
stones for a minute, and
Right.
care for somebody. So, Mike,
Yeah.
well, thank you. Obviously,
Thank you.
we treasure your friendship. My wife and my
Uh,
wife Angie and I both treasure the friendship with you and Jackie. And yeah,
yes, we
it's
do too.
I'm like you were talking about being a father, but I've met a couple of your kids virtually, and you can just feel that there's this great dynamic there. That coming from where you didn't know what you were doing, you can certainly figure it out. So just to encourage everybody else that even if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, which we all feel that way at
Mhm.
times,
Mhm.
that it's not
Mhm.
the end of the road. It's not the end of the road.
No,
Um,
no,
like
better is possible.
Right. Right. Like Maxwell said, the only way that a bend in the road is the end of the road is if you fail to make the turn. So we can make the turn towards better as possible and keep getting a little bit
Yes,
better each day.
yes, I like that. That's really
Yeah.
good.
So, Mike, thanks so much again for being with me and with all of us by extension, and all of the people that you've been with and made an impact on around the world. I know it's an impressive list of places. I didn't go through the list today, but I just wanted to give you a chance to share your heart with us and to make another impact here. And but thank you for a lifetime of doing that. And learning the things that there was no textbook, no playbook for learning those,
Mhm.
and then sharing those going forward, and just making a difference in so many lives. So thank you for making a difference in our lives, and for being on with me today. I
And
appreciate that.
by the way, all of that happened because I met really good people along the way, and they made great impressions on me, and that's how I learned. And so, I meet someone like you, and I know that you're out there just doing a great job and trying to add value everywhere to everyone. And so, hey, it's a joy.
Um,
Glad to be with you today.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right.
Okay. See you soon.
All right.
Okay.
Thank